Hi there, everyone. So I just wanted to share a deck profile of a deck that I've been using lately at my locals. It is Leopardmon X with Deva support. And I have gone to my locals with this, and I have actually won every game that I have played 2 weeks in a row. I think people are kind of sleeping on it, at least here in the West. I think it's super fun and super effective. The main goal of the deck is to use the cost reduction to basically make a very wide board. But unlike the normal Leopardmon deck, you are using this mainly to play out the green Devas so that they can then play out more for free. And it just gets overwhelming with the amount of basically memory advantage that you have. Use those level 5 bodies and to evolve into more leopards to just grow even more advantage. And it just gets totally overwhelming. So the weakness of the deck probably is draw power because you are mostly hard playing everything. So a lot of the deck is based around getting more draw power and more searching, for like such as Salamon or Namekamon there. But let's get into what I'm using for this deck and what you're looking for. So for an egg, I am using just 4 copies of Torikara Balmon. This is just for some DP because the deck kind of struggles a little bit with DP. But to be honest with you, you are really not going to be using the eggs a lot, if at all. Most of my games, I have maybe one egg hatch, or sometimes even 0 egg hatches entirely. So the egg isn't really doing a whole lot. I thought of replacing it with Gummymon for some more draw power. As I said, we need some draw power, but even then, it would just be like 1 or 2 more draws for an entire game. So the eggs aren't really doing a whole lot because you're mostly using the breeding zone for free Devas. I have 1 copy of Grandisol in here just for some emergency removal. This is really to taste. I don't really think the deck has enough room for 2 of them, but if you want to have like a different removal in there, if you don't want to have removal at all, if you think Leopard X is enough removal, that's fine. I like to have just 1 big removal card in a deck as kind of just something for hopeful, something to be hopeful about if they swing into security, just something that can potentially turn a game around out of nowhere. So I like to have 1 copy, but you do what you want to do. For the memory boosts and training, I have 2 green memory boosts and 3 agility training. I think this is again to taste. It's totally understandable if you want to do more memory boosts than training because you don't really have a whole lot of options or tamers that you need to grab with it. But the reason why I have more training is because a lot of the plays that you're making are going to be really expensive. So sometimes you want some cheaper cards to maybe choke out the enemy, or just maybe not give them quite as much, or maybe play 2 agility trainings to get 2 cards rather than play 1 green memory boost and get 1 card. So again, that is to taste, but I personally go 2 memory boost and 3 training. For tamers, I have 2 of the Mimi and 1 copy of Izzy and Mimi. So I do think that the BT1 Mimi is still just the best generic green tamer. I see some people use Devas instead for draw power, but I just like Mimi. So be aware that even though Devas can play to the breeding area, they are still considered freshly played. So even if you get them out with a Mimi, they can't attack. But you can still use that body for evolving into a leopard or getting even more advantage out. Or you can use it for alliance, or you could use it for fodder for suspending into leopard mode. So there's still a lot of use for, or even just like cleaning out your breeding area so you can play another free of Deva. So there's still a lot of enough use for Mimi that I think she's superior to Davis, but really it's up to you. For Izzy and Mimi, um, a lot of your um, a lot of your cards, especially your level 4s, your level 5s, are based around locking down and suspending and keeping enemies suspended. So a lot of the time, you're going to have an enemy on the board who is suspended when it comes to your turn. So this is Mimi can get you 2 memory every turn with that, so that's pretty good. And also, the secondary effect. So for a lot of normal decks, you're not going to use that secondary effect because nobody really wants to risk their level 5s for something stupid. But for this one, for this deck, you are going to be playing so many level 5s for free. You're going to have more than you even know what to do with. And you also have 13 level 6s in this deck. So it's honestly more likely than not that you're going to hit into one with the top 3 cards. So this can be actually pretty useful, even as like a Hail Mary if you don't know what to do, as like a final chance to win. This is actually a pretty good card. The reason why I only have it at 1 is because it's kind of hard to find the time to play Tamers in this deck because you are so focused on getting up to a leopard as fast as possible that sometimes it feels like you don't really want to play one. Also, your draw power is a little bit low because you're not evolving very much in this deck. So sometimes you would really prefer to see a body in your hand rather than a tamer. So that's why we're kind of light on tamers, kind of light on options. Going into your Digimon, your level 3s, you might see here, what are you doing? You only have 6 level 3s and 6 level 4s. That's because you're really not evolving up the ladder very much at all. You're mostly just hard playing level 5s and evolving off those level 5s. You're really not evolving onto your lower end. So they're really you don't have to have a whole lot of them. You can get away with very few of them. So for what I'm doing is I have 3 copies of Salamon and 3 copies of the Memory Floodgate Terriermon. So this Salamon is extremely, extremely good for this deck. Again, I keep keep saying this, the weakness of this deck is draw power. And this Salamon gets you 2 cards in your hand. It is reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 with Beast, Animal, or Sovereign, and 1 with Royal Knight. So a lot of the time, you're going to be able to play the Salamon, get 1 of your Devas, and get 1 of your Leopards. Because, of course, a Leopardmon is a Royal Knight. And the Devas here, all of your level 5s, are counted as holy beasts, which sure is a beast. So that counts for Salamon. Incredible card. I can see you going 4 Salamon and 2 Terriermon. I personally have 3 Terriermon because my locals uses a lot of like memory gain effects on their Digimon, and that really saved my ass. But it really is to taste of what you want to do. Yeah, 4 Salamon would be totally understandable. I have, and of course, the Memory Floodgate Terriermon. Everyone knows what that does. So for the level 4s, I have 1 copy of Togemon, 2 copies of Namekimon, and 3 copies of the new promo Kuwagamon. The Togemon, I'll be honest, is maybe on the cutting board. I could see a world where I cut it for either another Kuwagamon or Namekamon. Togemon does help you in getting out one of your tamers. But really, the deck doesn't need tamers to function, and you're never ever going to be using that inherit because you're just not evolving up the ladder unless something has gone terribly wrong. So really, it's just in there that 1 copy to maybe get out a Mimi or an Izzy and Mimi. And really, it's up to you how valuable you find that. I personally don't find that very valuable at all. We'll like kind of sort of again. Sometimes getting Izzy and Mimi out can be fun as like a last resort kind of thing. Of course, it's always good to have a memory setter out, but again, this deck can function without them. So I just keep it at 1. It's up to you how many you use. For Namekamon, this is again to get more draw power. And the good thing about it is it's not just on play, it's main. So if it happens to survive, you can keep doing it every turn to keep getting more cards in your hand. It suspends the Digimon to reveal the top 3 and add a green Digimon among them. Again, that's any green Digimon, so you can fill out your hand with what you need, and you can do that every turn that it's alive. Kuwagamon is honestly one of the most important cards in the deck. So what you're doing a lot with this deck is you are playing stuff for free. So Leopardmon itself reduces cost by 4. Leopardmon X reduces cost by 4, or if it has a normal leopard under it, reduces cost by 7. But the important part is you're going to get a lot of reduction of 4. So all these champions are 4 cost. So that means they are for free. So a lot of the time, the enemy is going to have attacked with something, like attacked with their big boss monster, and you are going to play this Kuwagamon for 0 cost to stun it down. What it does is either on play or evolve. You're normally going to do the on play. One of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers can't unsuspend until the end of their turn. So it does need to have already suspended. You can do that like with Mihiramon, or like they might have attacked on their own, or like you have other ways to suspend things, but a lot of the times like they've already attacked on their own, and you can just lock it down no matter what it is. I have at my locals just locked down like an Omnimon, like a Wargreymon and Omnimon, just forever, basically forever with this thing, like 3 turns, 4 turns, can't do shit. Because it just keeps getting locked down because I keep playing out Kuwagamons and Mihiramons and other things that stun. There's a lot of things that stun in the deck. You're almost always going to have some sort of option to stun down a threat. But yeah, this Kuwagamon is a big, cheap enabler of that. I would always put this Kuwagamon in this deck. If I were to remove the Togemon, it would be into that Kuwagamon. It is an incredible card. And again, you're normally not going to be evolving, but if you do, then a generic plus 2k is pretty cool. Because again, Leopard kind of struggles with DP in this build a little bit. So again, in the worst case, its inherit might go off, but really you're doing it for that very juicy on play. Now for the level 5s, which are the lifeblood of this deck. First, let's go into Lilymon. I run 2 copies of Lilymon Ace. This is the one where on play or when evolving, suspend an opponent's Digimon, then return one of opponent's suspended Digimon with 5k or less to the bottom of the deck. So this Lilymon is again 4 cost, so it can be played for free. It is a level 5, so you can evolve your leopards on top of it. So let's say, for example, you just have a leopard on the board. You can play cost reduced by 4, and then immediately evolve into another leopard to play cost of something again out for free. So again, that's just part of she's an enabler, being only a 4 cost ultimate to get out another leopard as fast as possible, basically. Of course, having her as a blast is cool too. But to be honest, her main purpose in the deck is just to be a 4 cost level 5 to get another leopard out as soon as possible. So for the Devas themselves, I run 4 copies of Mihiramon, 2 copies of Antilamon EX4, 3 copies of Vajramon, 2 copies of Vikaralamon, and 3 copies of Kamhiramon. So this seems like a lot of level 5s, but I would not run less than this. You need level 5s in your hand to do basically anything actually valuable. They are, again, a lifeblood of the deck. Of the EX5 Devas, I think Kamhiramon is the best because of its Alterna's effect when an opponent's Digimon becomes suspended, draw 1. Again, that draw power I keep talking about to keep cards in your hand. And it's all turns, so like if you suspend them with one of your effects, or even if they just attack you, you get to draw one. So like if I have a choice of which Deva I'm going to play on the board, it's probably going to be Kamhiramon. And then for the non-EX5 Devas, we have Antilamon and Mihiramon. So Antilamon is at 2. It has Alliance, so you can use that Alliance to get some extra damage out with something that was just played, or just like to maybe make use of your Leopardmon without risking it in security, something like that. And of course, it can recover at the end of an attack. That 4 evolution cost seems scary, but again, you are never ever going to be evolving this unless something has gone terribly wrong. So you are either going to be playing this for 1 cost because it's 8 minus 7, or you're going to be playing it for free with one of your other Devas. Because even though it's EX4, it's not technically part of the 4 Sovereigns archetype. It is still a Deva. It's still a holy beast. So you can still search it. You can still play it for free. And then Mihiramon. So Mihiramon is probably the most important of the Devas. It's like the glue holding it together. So even though he can't play out another thing for free, he can lock stuff down when he's played. And he also has maybe the only inherit in this entire deck, which is actually important. It reads, when this Digimon would Digivolve, reduce the evolution cost by 1. So what that means is that you can evolve him. He's probably going to be what you want to have your main stack, like your main Leopardmon, because you can evolve him into a Leopardmon, and then you can either go into Leopard mode or X antibody for 0. This is super important for like if you have only 3 memory, for like if you have a Mimi out, or like if you have a memory boost in a training and they set you to 1. It's extremely, extremely important to use Mihiramon as your Leopardmon base if you at all you have the means to do so. And of course, also just keeping stuff stunned. A lot of the time, I'll use my Leopardmon X free play on a Mihiramon to either stun an opponent, like a suspend of 7k or less, or like freeze their boss monster. Because even though it says suspend something with 7k or less, the secondary effect until the end of opponent's turn when opponent doesn't unsuspend, that doesn't have a DP limit. So you, especially with like Kuwagamon together with Mihiramon, you have a lot of cards that just stun down the enemy, so that even if they do get their boss monster out and can swing, there's nothing that they can do after that. So that's the level 5s. A lot of the time, I will be like playing Kamhiramon for 7 cost at the start of the game, and then putting a Mihiramon in my breeding to prepare to evolve into a leopard. Because when they attack and probably kill Kamhiramon, he's going to probably get me a card, an extra card draw. And of course, Vajramon gets me extra memory when I use an option. Vikaralamon unsuspends when something is kills something in battle, but really you're not going to use their special effects very much. It's really Kamhiramon who is the star of that. But of course, you have to like keep them at a relatively even ratio, because of course, the Devas, you can't play something for free if it's already in your trash or on the field. So that's why he's not at 4, just keeping the ratios even. And now for your level 6s. So again, it seems like a lot of level 6s. It is 13 level 6s, but please believe me, you need these. Especially the leopards, you never want to go under that 4 leopard and 4 leopard X. So what we're running is 4 Leopardmon from the BT13, 1 Leopardmon leopard mode, 2 Bancho Leomon, 2 Ebonwumon Ace, and 4 Leopardmon X. So the Leopardmon is basically, if you don't have a Leopardmon in your hand, you don't have a hand, almost. Like, it is so important to get the Leopardmons in your hand and on the board to start your memory advantage. And they're free playing. What I normally like to do, if I have the opportunity, is have one stack of the normal Leopardmon and one stack of Leopardmon X, because the normal Leopardmon gives everything blocker when you play something, and Leopardmon X, of course, is your main removal, and 7 cost reduction to play your Devas for free. But yeah, if unless like there's a super duper emergency and you need two two Leopard X's out for removal, even if I have a Leopard X in hand, sometimes I'm going to keep it as a normal Leopard, so I can keep using that all turns when you play another Digimon. All green and or Royal Knight gain blocker until end of opponent's turn, and that is a blanket effect. So even if they kill the Leopardmon, everything has blocker. So it's so again, it can keep you safe from the opponent's own swarming abilities, trying to just go around all of your bodies. I do keep one copy of the normal Leopard mode in here, so only one. It's not the best card because it can't evolve off of Leopard X. It specifies exactly Leopardmon, but it is another Leopardmon name for Leopardmon X to evolve off of. So I think it is still worth keeping in here at 1. And he can also, in a pinch, lock down the enemy, as so many of our other cards do. One Digivolving, suspend one opponent until the end of opponent's turn. One opponent Digimon doesn't unsuspend. So again, he can lock something down in a pinch. And of course, you can also use it as its intended purpose of suspending your newly played Digimon to keep attacking and hopefully win that turn. Okay, and for the support level 6s, Bancho Leomon and Ebonwumon Ace. If anyone has been on the wrong side of a Bancho Leomon, you know how fucking annoying this thing is. And with this particular deck, with 7 cost reduction, if when this card would be played by the hand, if there's 6 or fewer total security, reduce cost by 5. So he can be played for 0. So if you have both of your Banchos out and the blocker Leopardmon making everything blocker, there is very little that an opponent can do sometimes. Like sometimes they just scoop. I've had people scoop when they had all 5 of their security still because there was nothing they can do about it. This card, he doesn't really win games on his own. He needs to be partnered with a Leopard. But like if your board is big, if you have a lot of blockers, he can just be completely oppressive and impossible to get over. I really love this card. I've considered removing that Leopard node and putting him to 3, but really he's not really your main level 6. He's more of a supporter, so I think 2 is right. Same thing for Ebonwumon Ace. So you see that magic number 7 play cost. He can be played for free by Leopard X, or just for 3 cost instead by the normal Leopard. And again, he locks everything down. On play or when digivolving, for each Digimon with Deva or 4 Sovereign's trait, suspend 1 Digimon. Then during opponent's next unsuspend phase, all opponent's Digimon can't unsuspend. So a lot of the time what I'm going to do with him is just honestly when the opponent knows he's in there, it makes them more afraid to attack because you are going to have a lot of level 5s on the board and like so more than you know what to do with sometimes. And there's always going to be the threat of an Ebonwumon, especially if they have a blocker on the board, of getting that Ebonwumon out, either suddenly growing bigger than they think your level 5 is, and even if they're still able to kill it, on deletion, Ebonwumon delete one of your opponent's suspended Digimon. So it like if they might like take all of this effort into making a big boss monster over 12k DP, and then Ebonwumon just blasts and kills it. So just the threat of Ebonwumon can make the opponent just not attack sometimes. Like he's a deterrent, and I have used him as a blast blocker, and he can just make the opponent scoop again. These two are the scoop brothers. They just make opponents scoop. And then the big bad of the deck, Leopardmon X. When digivolving in main, you may play one green Digimon from hand with a play cost reduced by 4. If a card with Leopardmon in its name or X antibody is an evolution card, it's further reduced by 3. So again, he is the reason why this deck just shits out value. You are free playing these Devas, who are then free playing another Deva. That is 14 memory worth of Deva body for free. And those Deva bodies can turn into more leopards for more free Deva bodies, and it just balloons out of control so fast unless your opponent can nip it in the bud immediately. And he's also removal too. So when your Digimon would be played, you may return one of your opponent's 5k or lower Digimon to the hand. For each of your other Digimon, add 3k to the max DP. And your board, believe me, your board balloons out of control. So even against a meta deck, you can easily get 4, 5, 6, 7 more Digimon on the board with how many bodies you're playing for free. And that means basically you have no limit of what you're bouncing. I have bounced Omnimons with this. I bounced Death X's once. I have bounced so much. Again, the sky is the limit with how much stuff you can get on the board very easily. And I love that. I love that these guys have main as well. Leopard X and the normal Leopard can both activate their play cost reduction main. So they get it every turn, and they can basically activate it whenever they want. Because sometimes it is not like right when you're evolving or like right when you start the turn is not the right time to play something for free. It is not the right time to bounce something. So that really is like when digivolving and main is why these guys are so good. And again, the bounce effect is when a Digimon is played, you may return. So you can pick and choose when to activate that bouncing effect. And it's also just when a Digimon is played. So you also don't have to use his effects to activate that. So let's say, for example, the opponent has like a big fat level 7 on the board, and you don't quite have enough bodies to bounce it yet. Like for your final play of the turn, you might like play like 2 level 3s or something, like play a level 3 and pass the turn, but just finally hit that DP threshold to bounce the level 7. That happens a lot. I love how flexible these guys are. They're great. So that is, again, that is the deck. Your main goal is to play out these Devas, who play out more Devas, who can then be evolved to Leopardmon again to play out more bodies, and it just gets so big. Make them all blocker, and then finally just have such overwhelming advantage that you that you kill the enemy in one turn. So for this deck, I would definitely um, I guess play it more safe than sorry. When I try to be more aggressive, it normally doesn't end up very well because I don't really go over 12k ever. And I also have a lot of aces in the deck, 4 aces. So going offensive, giving your opponent free tamers, having things die in security, hitting into like chaos decks or something is not good. And what these leopards do is they just generate so much value just by being on your board every turn that I would be safe. Hold back, be safe than sorry. Keep up blockers and banchos to deal with the opponent's attackers. If they're able to kill your leopard, you probably have another one in your hand or another on the board because it's so easy to. You have so many in the deck, and you're playing level 5s for free. Um, so don't worry too much about an opponent coming out and killing a level 6. What basically happens is that a lot of this game's removal is either on little bodies or it is one big stack at a time. So like even if someone plays a Crimson Blaze or like even an Ultimate Flare or something, they're not going to be able to kill all those level 5s with 7k DP that you have on the board. Even if they are able to kill your big stack, like whatever, you have more. Crimson Blaze, even though Crimson Blaze does stop your leopards from functioning for one turn, for one thing, Leopard X's removal doesn't rely on you playing by effect, so you can still do that. And like most of your important bodies are above 6k for Crimson Blaze. So like what if they kill these little shits? Who cares, right? Like you're not even evolving on top of them. So like whatever, they're born to die. Who gives a fuck, right? So Crimson Blaze is an inconvenience that doesn't even stop you. You just become this overwhelming wrecking ball, and this normal leopard is giving everything blocker. Bancho, even just one Bancho on the board is making it like impossible to swing over your stuff. It is just, again, like once this ball got rolling, there was nothing that War Greymon could do. There was nothing that Red Hybrid could do even. It's just really, really good. And yeah, that's why I wanted to talk about this deck. It's fantastic. Again, I have won all my games at locals 2 weeks in a row. I can't wait to play with it some more. I can't wait to see what else I can add into it, because of basically this deck can use anything that is green. Anything green with a good on play is fair game for this deck. So I really can't. I'm excited to see where it goes from here. If you've watched this far, thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and have fun, hopefully, with this deck playing out 20 billion bodies for 0 cost. Thank you.